Well, hello, Las Vegas. It's Monique Buchanan, the host of the Welcome Home with Monique show, and we have yet another great show for you today. I'm going to bring on the bestest, the best lender, I can say that hands down, you guys, that I've ever worked with in my decade of doing real estate. Now, that is a big accomplishment, let me tell you. I have quite a great team of lenders, but I've got to tell you, this lender right here, he doesn't know what no means, you know? And a lot of my buyers, and yeah, they'll tell you the same thing. Thank God for Mr. Valentino, because he does not know what no means. And that is imperative in this market because guess what, guys? We have competition again. Me and Mr. Valentino have been warning you guys, as soon as the rates come down, we're going to start seeing a bunch of competition out on properties. We've got lines of people waiting outside the house to get in. But before I go ahead and jump into it, let me go ahead and introduce you to Mr. Valentino with Guaranteed Rate. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, Monique, how are you? Good morning to you.
I'm great. Good morning. So, not to, say, hey, I told you guys so, but we kind of did. It was coming. It's already here in some parts of the valley. And what I'm talking about, guys, is we are seeing competition. We're seeing buyers fight for the same home already, even with the rates where they're at, which Anthony's going to go over. They've come down a little bit. And as soon as they trickle even a half a point down, it's like the floodgates are already creeping open. Am I right, Anthony?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just like everything in life goes in cycles, so does the economy. And what we're seeing right now is just another cycle of the life of economics and the market, and more importantly, the heartbeat of the economy and how it's doing. And obviously, we know we're coming from the trenches of 2022 where inflation was at its highest in the nines. And, since 2023 of June, inflation's been hovering around the threes, and it's been stagnant for the past 12 months. But now we're starting to see some cracks in the arsenal that the economy was trying to transpose. And because of those cracks, there's going to be consequences in the market. And that's why you and I are here to help the consumer be educated and confident on where we're at and where we're going.
Absolutely. And so, I'm out there in the field, you guys. I do a lot of listings, but I do take some buyers out, and I have a team that also takes buyers out. And I was out with one of my buyers in the Southwest community, and I tell you what, by the time I was in the home showing them we were in there for maybe 3 minutes, there was 2 other buyers outside waiting to get in, So if you're sitting on your hands, this is not the time, let me tell you, because it's already on the wall. Homes are flying off the market. If you're looking on Zillow or Trulia or my website, welcomehomewithmonique.com, you might like a house, heart it, and next thing you know, you go back the next day and it's gone. Right, Anthony? So especially if the home is under $500,000, anywhere in the valley, it's going to fly off the market. My listings are all in escrow right now, you guys. My last 5 listings, I got those bad boys sold in less than a week. Less than a week. Even my listing that was $750, less than a week, 2 days, bam, gone. Why is that? Because we have only 3 weeks worth of inventory. What does that mean, Monique? That means if we were to stop right now and sell every single house that we had on the market, that's it. 3 weeks. We're done. We have nothing else. That's how long it would take. We wouldn't have another house. Am I explaining that right, Anthony?
Yeah, you are. And, like I tell people, who are dabbling into home ownership, the next 6 months are going to be the most economical time to purchase if you're looking to purchase over the next 5 years. A lot of people, they're on the sidelines and they're thinking, well, what if the prices come down, or what if the rates come down, or what if the inventory goes up? And I'm here to tell you, based off of facts and statistics, if you're looking to purchase a house within the next 5 years, the next 6 months will be the most economical.
Right. And now listen, you guys know that I've told you I'm buying my own house. Me and Anthony just got my property into escrow. I already sold my house. We're going to close on that bad boy on the 24th. But I found my house that I'm going to purchase. And listen, so I'm not just preaching this, you guys. I'm actually doing it for myself. I know that if I don't move up and go ahead and upsize, that's what I did. I went from a a 2,000 square foot home to a 3,000 square foot single story. That's what I wanted to do because I'm getting older and I don't want to do stairs anymore. But I knew that this was my opportunity to score a great deal because within the next 6 months, I am confident that I would not be able to get the home that I have now that I'm in escrow with for the same price that I got it for. I also got $13,000 out of the seller's pocket for my closing costs and to buy my rate down. So what we're doing, and like we've been doing, right, Anthony? We are buying the rate down for our clients. Okay, I negotiate the closing costs. Anthony buys down the rate with the money that I get from the seller. So my first year, Anthony, what did we say? Is going to be what, 4.65?
4.575 is what your rate's going to be. And what you're doing is you're 2 steps ahead of the competition. And you're doing that because of the knowledge that you have. People, they fear the unknown. And so the more they know, then the less they fear and the more confident they are.
Right.
So when you're purchasing a house, you want to be confident on where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And once you understand that, it's easier to make decisions like home ownership. In your case, you understand how the market in 2022, interest rates were raised twice. In 2023, interest rates were raised 9 times.
Yeah.
In 2024, the feds were expected to lower the rate 4 times. Now it's only going to be 1 time because of this stagnation that we're seeing with the inflation staying where it's at. And then in 2025, we're going to see upwards of 6 decreases. So when we look, the last 24 months, we've seen nothing but increases. And the next 24 months, we're only going to see nothing but decreases. That gives you an insurance policy knowing that rates are doing nothing but going down. So by you being able to leverage the market, by being able to get those closing costs, to be able to get the rate that's going to be in the next 2 years now, you're buying the house at the price now, but you're getting the rate that you're going to see in 2 years,
Right.
And the seller's paying for it. So it's a win-win situation for you.
It is, but that window is closing quickly. That's why I sold my house quick. I sold my house in 3 days. Am I right, Anthony? I sold that bad boy fast.
People think that's a misconception. Oh, the rates are high, so this is, we can go in and ask for a lot less for the purchase. And it's not the case because of the supply.
That's
There's
right.
just not. Every single house that was bought over the last 36 months has a rate of under 3%. It's free money. They're not going to sell that house. They're just going to leverage it.
Right.
So there's a housing shortage organically because houses are just not coming on the market. They're just being rented out.
Right.
And so that's just adding to the fuel to make this market absolutely gangbusters in the next 24 months. What's going to happen is people are going to find out that the Californians that have no problem paying over because
Right.
that's their market they're used to.
Yep.
Whereas in Vegas,
We're
people,
not.
if they see a house for $400,000, they're not going to pay $15,000 over the appraised value. Whereas Californians are going to be like, yeah,
All
sign
day
me up.
long.
I do that all the time.
All day long.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what happened already back in 2019 when I was taking my buyers out, and that's what we were seeing. We were offering 20,000 over, and still was not able to win the bids. That's coming back. It's already hit the Southwest community. I mean, they're already starting to go. Who was it I was talking to that said the builders, the buyers are already telling the builders, because the builders right now, the new home builds, have waiting lists in the Southwest community in certain parts of the city. So they were saying, hey, the buyers are walking in and saying, hey, keep your incentives, move me up on the list. They're waiving the, incentives like, hey, keep it. Will that move me up on the list? So that's how.
This is how fast the markets change, Monique. 6 months ago, the buyers were in the driver's seat telling the builders, I want this in concessions. I want premium
That's
lot.
right.
I want this.
Right. And
They're
throw in
now
the
going to
appliances.
and throw in the appliances, make sure it's stainless steel. I want upgraded countertops.
Yep, they were.
Now they're coming in and they're saying, excuse me, because there's like 50 people online for the same house.
Right.
And they're going, you don't have to offer me anything. You don't have to pay my closing costs. I don't have to upgrade the lot. I will take it as is. Let me get it. And they're
Just
going to
let
say,
me have
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Right. And if you're just tuning in, this is Monique Buchanan, your local Las Vegas realtor, on with none other than Mr. Valentino with Guaranteed Rate. He is the lender that is on point every time, going to get you to the finish line. That rhymed. But anyways, let's jump back in. If you're just tuning in, what we're talking about is we have a shortage of homes, okay? So every single market is different, you guys. So if you're online, you're listening to YouTubers and they're saying this, that, and the next thing, that they're talking about their market, which is completely different from our market. Heck, communities are different. You're not going to have houses fly off the shelf as fast as they do maybe in Summerlin versus, the East Side or North Las Vegas or wherever. So it just depends, what community you're in and, how sought after that community is, if that makes sense. So what Anthony also said is that most of us that own, we bought when the rates were really low. So a lot of us are not selling. We're sitting on it or we're renting it out. That also contributes to why we have such a shortage of homes here in the Las Vegas Valley. So what does that mean? That means although the rates are high, honey, my sellers are still cleaning up and we're still having multiple people come and try to buy the property because they understand as buyers that these rates are going to come down. So let me go ahead and buy now, right? And just refinance when the rates come down. Is that right, Anthony?
Yeah, that's right. And here for all the people listening right now, where you got your aunt or uncle or your coworker going, I'm just going to wait because this, I've seen this before. I'm going to debunk all of that for you in a 20-second understanding of where we were and where we're at. Right now, almost 100% of loans are fixed rates. 99.9 when you look at the consensus,
right.
Meaning everyone is in a safe, in a very strict type of loan to where they had to go through strict and rigorous underwriting. It wasn't like 2007 where there was stated loans, interest only, predatory balloon payments. And so now everyone's in a 30-year fix,
right.
To where, they're warm and safe and conservative in that. The second part is back in 2007 and 8, when you saw this exodus of evaporation of equity, that's because there was not regulations like there is today to where the lender was in cahoots with the appraiser.
Right.
Whereas now everything has red tape and guidelines and regulations. So you're not going to see those big swings like you did in 2007 today. Another part is, you have the CARES Act that made it to where back in 2007, the banks can foreclose on you or short sell within a moment's notice. Whereas now, if someone gets in financial despair, they have to either offer you a forbearance, deferment, or modification. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to see this exodus of people who, if they get in a financial spot, they're going to lose their house. And on top of that, you have the historically low rates like you just talked about. So when you look at what happened in 2007, how there was predatory lending, interest only, balloon payments, not good underwriting, underwater values, compared to now where everyone's in a 30-year fix. They have the government to be able to bail them out.
Right.
They have all of these checks and measures in place. You're not going to see any massive changes that are going to affect the price of the house. So if you're waiting for the price of the house to go down, or if you're waiting for more opportunity or more inventory, you're going to wait for the next 5 years until you realize that it was never coming.
Right. You missed the boat. And you missed the boat.
Yeah,
here's another thing. Here in the Las Vegas Valley, like I say all the time, there is so much going on and coming into our city. What would make people think that we're going to go down to $300,000 homes again, $200,000 homes again? I don't understand the thought process on that. We've got all these sports teams coming in. California's pouring in, and like you said, they're used to $1 million homes only being, 1,800 square feet. And they're fine with it. So it's like, I don't understand. And not to be funny, but I'm still waiting because everybody said the crash was going to happen. Well, we're still waiting on this crash. And while we're waiting, the prices are going up. And I haven't seen any signs, and I don't expect any crash. These prices are going up, you guys. Hear us. Do not miss your opportunity. If you live here in Las Vegas, I hate to think about people that live here, that's been living here, have not purchased, and they're about to miss their opportunity. That's what scares me. That's what scares me, Anthony.
Yeah.
My friends and family.
We're seeing a migration of home ownership like we've never seen since the 80s. We're talking almost 40 years ago.
Right.
The problem is people are looking in the rearview mirror of how easy it was to purchase a house and are not focused on the windshield of what's to come.
Right.
And there's a big shift coming right now to where our kids, you and our kids who are, from 12 years old to 18 years old, 80% of them, unfortunately, are not going to feel the love of home ownership.
Right.
And it's because of the opportunity and because of the economic ability. It's just not going to be there.
Right.
And so that window is closing to the point where in 5 years, it's going to be the norm to rent because of this disparity and the difference between rent to ownership. And people are going to miss that boat if they continue to wait, for sure.
That's absolutely right. And that's what I'm telling my friends and family. Hey, if you have an opportunity, if you have over a 640 credit score, you've been on your job, any job, for 2 years, it's a 5-minute conversation with Mr. Valentino. 702-984-3700. Again, 702-984-3700. Listen, you guys are a first-time home buyer if you've been renting for the last 3 years. Isn't that right, Anthony? They're considered a first-time home buyer.
The biggest roadblock for people in home ownership is themselves, and it's because of the perception that they think is needed for home ownership.
Yeah.
There is no obstacle in your way or my way to get our buyers where they need to be for home ownership. There is no in our dictionary.
Right.
It's what do they want to do, and we reverse engineer it and show them the exact path, whether it takes them a day or whether it takes them a year or whether it takes them 5 years. The point is, ask the question, take the first step, and see what that path is for home ownership.
Absolutely. And then there's so many people out there right now renting and paying $3,000 a month for rent. It's like, listen,
Yes.
The same process you did when you rented, you gave them your social, they ran your credit. Guess what? They did a hard pull and took points away when they did that. Mr. Valentino does a soft pull. He doesn't even take points away when he checks your credit and gives you a game plan. It's never a no. It might be a not right now, but here's the way to get there. Or guess what? A lot of times my buyers are very shocked and happy when Mr. Valentino sends me their approval letter and we're out shopping. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, you want to make sure that when you're shopping for a house, you know your payment, you know you're out of pocket, you know everything, you're confident. So when you walk in that house, the second you want it, it's yours. You can just sign the dotted line and you don't have to worry. Can I afford this? What is the payment? What is the out of pocket? What is the logistics? You and I set the client up for success by being proactive and answering all the questions that a lot of people unfortunately don't do until they have to be reactive and they're already in contract and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can afford this or how much it's going to cost. We don't operate that way. We operate a nice fine-tuned machine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Knowledge is key. You have to be comfortable with what you're paying and
That's
understand, and understand that. So I think that we are at a point now where rent in many cases is more expensive than because of what we do. Like you said, we put them a lot of times in the can you explain the 3-1 buy down for them to understand? Because we use that quite often. Many of our buyers, they choose to do that because they understand it's buying them time because we know the rates are coming down. So
it's economics. I mean, traditionally, people would buy the rate down for the full 30 years. So if you have a 6.5 rate and you take $10,000 and you can buy it down to a 6.25, you save 0.25%, you're saving $70 a month. But then it's going to take you 7 to 8 years of saving $70 a month to meet what was costed out of pocket in the beginning. That is fine if it's long-term, meaning the rates are low and they're expected to go up. But when we're in a market, which is different than where our rearview mirror is, the rates are now only expected to go down. So when you have that, you have to look at the break even, and it doesn't make sense to buy down the rate for the full 30 years and only save a little bit when we can push all of that savings into the first part of the loan and hyper accelerate the savings. So instead of dropping the rate 0.25%, we drop the rate 2%.
Right.
And we do that because we're hedging ourselves against the market, knowing that the math makes sense. And I rather save $700 a month on my payment for the first year, $500 a month on my payment for the second year, and then refinance in year 3. And because we know where the market's heading, we see where it's going, that gives us the comfortability. And on top of that, it's still a fixed rate. So even if for some reason something changes years down the line, it's not an arm, it's not a balloon.
Right.
We approve you based off of the worst case scenario, but we set you up for short term and long term.
Absolutely. And so he went over even just, for instance, one of our clients, their numbers was around $3,200 for the first year, $3,500. And what we're talking about is the monthly payment, you guys. So what it does is it buys you time. It makes your monthly payment, like he said, $500 to $700 less, and it does that for a couple years while you're waiting out the chance to refi. There is no waiting period. People think that there's like a year or 2 years waiting period, Anthony, to refinance their house.
Yeah, there's no waiting period, whether it's 6 months or whether it's 6 years. As long as it's a primary residence or secondary residence, then there's no prepayment penalty or early, payoff like an investment does, where people can see a 1, 2, or 3 year where they get hit with a certain percentage. If you're buying for primary or secondary, you basically follow the rates. And if it makes sense and the math doesn't lie, then yeah, let's refinance. Let's save that money.
Absolutely. So, and just to kind of break it down into quick layman's terms, if you buy a house today at the current rate, let's say that your normal payment would be $3,800 for this house. The way we're doing it with many of our buyers, we are saying, okay, year 1, your payment's going to be $3,000. Year 2, your payment's going to be $3,500. If you make it to year 3, it will be fixed 3 through 30 at your original payment of $3,800. So that buys you time to wait for the rates to go ahead and drop down like they're supposed to. But like Anthony said, if they don't, then you're just going to have the same rate you would have paid from day 1. But does that make sense? I hope I explained that to where it makes sense.
It is. And not only that, but unlike if you were to buy down the rate traditionally, where you have a break-even period, meaning, hey, if I buy down the rate 0.25%, save $70 a month, it's going to take me 7 years of saving $70 a month to break even. With the 2-1, the 1 year buy down, 2 year buy down, 3 year buy down, you can refinance sooner. And the good part about it is, say we get $15,000 from the seller, and say in 7 or 8 months, something goes crazy and the rates drop a full percentage point to where you can get a rate in the lower 5s or upper 4s, and you don't have to wait the full 2 years, and you're only 8 months into it. What you can do is you can refinance still, and say you only used $4,000 out of that $15,000 and there's $11,000 left. You don't lose that money. In fact, when you refinance, that $11,000 gets applied to the principal. So you either use it for the full duration and lower the payment, or if you refinance sooner, that money doesn't go back to the seller or the lender. It stays with the buyer, and they put it towards the principal. And so it's a win-win situation. You can refinance early or you can refinance at the end. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And let's just touch on the down payment assistance programs. They're coming back around. I've been talking about them. They're comparable to today's rate, right, Anthony? So if we could just touch on...
They are.
What is it? It's 640 credit score, 2 years on the job. They can get up to what, 4%, 5%?
Yeah, there's multiple state and federal grants out there. So so basically you just want to make sure that you're looking at all options on the table. What I show my clients is, here is your options, whether you want to do full down payment assistance, partial down payment assistance, minimum down first-time home buyer, standard. And so that way they can see, here's my rate, here's my payment, here's my out-of-pocket, and then they can choose what's going to be the best program for them.
And just so they know, too, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for some of the programs that you have, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. There's even some where if you currently own a house but you're buying a primary, they will allow you. So it just really depends on your situation, and that's where you and I come in to really show them what options are available.
Absolutely. And one last thing I want to point out for the buyers, 580 credit score if you have your own down payment. Isn't that right, Anthony?
You can even go as low as 560 sometimes. You just have to have compensating factors. If they have low debt to income ratio, or they have extensive assets. I've seen people at 560, 570 get in for 3.5% down because of those compensating factors.
And then my retired people that are on fixed incomes, but they make pretty good, income, they can buy investment properties based off of the property's gain. Is that correct, Anthony? And not their
100%.
income, right?
Yeah, that's a DSCR loan, a debt service ratio collateral loan, where basically it's not based off of the person's income. It's based off of the output of the investment. And as long as the investment payment is the same as the rent, then that is called a 1% DSCR. There's also DSCR programs where it's less. But yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Anthony. It's always such a pleasure to have you come on and share your knowledge with us. And in that number, in case they want to reach out to Anthony Valentino, is 702-984-3700. Here to answer the questions that you may have and get you going. 5-minute conversation. And Anthony can tell you if you are approved or, hey, this is what you need to do to get approved. Right, Anthony?
That's right. That's just knowledge is power, and my job is to educate and get them confident.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, Anthony. Okay, guys, let's pivot now to my sellers. If you are living in the Henderson or Southwest area, Summerlin, Centennial, let me tell you, I mean, anywhere in the valley, really, because once again, we are in an extreme shortage of homes. So I can list the property for you. We will get top dollar. And you'll be a happy camper like my last sellers. Sorry, they're very happy. We are top dollar. We're closing about 5 this month. So if you're interested in selling, I'm here to assist. 702-984-3700. That is what I do. And I do that personally. And my team takes a lot of my buyers out. And I do take buyers out too, but I am mainly a listing agent, and I list the properties for you. Let me give you some idea what I mean. If you live in the 89139 area and you have a property that you'd like to list or you're thinking about selling, let me share something with you. If that home is worth around $500,000, there are zero properties for sale. That means your property will fly off the shelf. You will get top dollar because 89139 doesn't have any right now for sale. Okay, if you're at an 800,000 price point, there's about 18 in that entire zip code for sale. Okay, now I run these numbers a couple days ago, but yeah, 18. That's where you're at. If you're looking at 800,000 or less in the 89139 area, there's only 18 homes, you guys. So if you have a property that you think is worth around that much, yes, it's going to fly off the shelf. If you have a property that's $1 million plus, there's only 4 in the 89139 Southern Highlands area, okay? Now, if you're in Henderson on 89052 McDonald's Ranch area, and you have a property that you think is worth around $500,000 or less, there's only 3 properties listed. That means you have 3 properties that are your competition, okay? So that tells you right there, we will get this property sold quickly. So once again, if you have a property that's $800,000 or less in the 89052 area, which is McDonald's Ranch area, Henderson, there's only 7 homes that would be competition for you. 7. Okay. If you have a $1 million plus home in the 89052 area, you only have 19. So you got, a little something, 19 homes. Now, if you're over there in Centennial Hills, 89149, $500,000 or less, you're looking at 5 homes as your competition. All right. If you're $800,000 or less, you're looking at 11 homes. My number is 702-984-3700. I am Monique Buchanan, your local Las Vegas realtor, your KUMB realtor, and I'm here to assist. Okay. My website is welcomehomewithmonique.com. You can check me out on YouTube, Welcome Home with Monique, and my Instagram is at Realtor Monique Buchanan. That's BUCHANAN. And so listen, I want you guys to have an amazing weekend. And until I hear from you,